Yeah, just give me all of the respect. I use your reverence as a reward. They know that I got the power and they looking at me like the source. Take my throne, boy, stop that. I'm on my hill, can't top that. You take this L, yeah, rock that. You know, I never needed a cosign. Yeah, I'm gon' shine. I rock independent. Representing like I work for the Senate. You double LC, you ain't got no business coming against me. These haters, they acting so friendly.
What it do, Knicks Nation? What it do, Knicks Nation? What it do? KOD Universe, stand up. And all you DJs, wake up and get your coffee. Welcome to this Wednesday, February 1st edition of the Knicks Morning Brew. I am your guy, Hector. And like always, next to me is the one and only Mr. Fabulous Phil. Philip, good morning.
What up, bro? It's crazy. It's freaking February. Like,
oh yeah, February 1st.
Flying, bro. Like things are crazy. But yeah, man, I'm excited. You know, we got a lot to talk about today after that sad L we took last night to the Los Angeles Lakers. We got, you know, the homie Doug, you know, going to teach us how to Dougie right on the show today. It's going to be a good time hanging out with Doug and just being able to talk basketball. Maybe he'll whip out his guitar and lead us in a song of depression and anxiety of being Knicks fans. It's going to be a good one. Looking forward to it.
Copy. Same, bro. Just, you know, waking up another day, another dollar, and of course, another Knicks loss, right? But first, before we get into that, shout out to chat, everybody, for tuning in. Mr. Chris Joseph is in the building. What it do? Salute. Eric Wallace EY is in the building. Salute. 3 capital S's. And of course, my man JJ is in the building. And JJ just said it. Brutal loss. RJ not talking to the media. He should be mad at himself and not at Tibbs. RJ deserved to get benched. He was terrible on both ends of the court. Phil, what do you think about that one? What do you think about that? You want to save that for later when Dougie comes on?
We could start gun blazing and then bring up Dougie, you know, to chime in. But here's the thing: RJ did not play well. Okay, that's fine. Okay, in his 27 minutes, he was 38% field goal shooting. Okay, you know, not great. 1 turnover. Okay, a few assists, a few rebounds. Okay, you cannot say that he deserved to sit when Julius Randle's field goal percentage was lower than his turnovers were higher than his, and so it's one of those things that you can't pick and choose which child you're going to discipline based off of your favorite. You know, if you're going to say it's based off of production and action, then it should have been both ways. You know, Julius Randle played just as bad, if not worse, and it wound up costing us the game. So if we're going to talk about the fact that RJ deserved to sit, then I'm also going to say that Randle deserved to sit. So that's where I stand on that.
Well, but besides Randle, right? Just put Randle to the side. Let's even forget about Randle when having this conversation. And you just got up. You just gonna leave me. You just gonna get up and leave me. This is what you do. You just get up and leave me.
Got fix something.
What I was gonna say is forget Julius Randle, right? Let's put Julius because Julius Randle is the easy target when this scenario comes up, right? But guess who else? RJ Barrett was 0 from 3 from beyond the arc. I get that. 5 of 13 from the field with only 13 points. I get that. But you know who was 0 from 5 from 3? Quentin Grimes. You know who was 6 of 12 from the field? Quentin Grimes. You know who had less points than RJ Barrett? Quentin Grimes. So if you're going to sit someone, You're gonna sit RJ Barrett over Quentin Grimes when Quentin Grimes and both RJ Barrett was struggling from the three and from the field.
Then we gotta look at this. Then we got to look at this too. If we're talking about Grimes at least shot 50%, even with missing from field goal percentage. He was still 50%. You know who was lower than 50%? Jalen Brunson.
13
for 29? Jalen Brunson. You know who was 2 for 7 from 3? Jalen Brunson. So this whole RJ deserved to sit. Like, okay, sit our whole team down. Like, bring up our G League if that's how we're going to do it. Like, you can't pick and choose who you're going to discipline and who you're going to pamper. That is not how you run a basketball team. That is not how you run a basketball franchise. So that's my take on that.
Shout out to my man Blood of the Panther. Listen, Blood, we've been talking about it since the beginning of this. Obi has been our most consistent three-point shooter. Yes, Emmanuel quickly has come on of lately, but the reason why the scheme is the way it is, the reason why Obi Toppin, he gets lost and gets just put on the three-point line is because he's our second best three-point shooter on this team. The reason why Tom Thibodeau tells Obi just to sit at the line is because he has nobody else that he can rely on. The reason why Obi Toppin is not crashing the boards or is not trying to slice and get an alley-oop or a dunk is because we have no one on the court that can spread the floor for him. He's the only ball spreader we have on the court besides Quickly, especially with the second unit. So, Blood, I see what you're saying, but you gotta understand, we've been talking about it for the longest. You talk about a spin move, spin move. But Tom Thibodeau, the reason why Obi Toppin gets lost and gets stuck at the three-point line is because no one else on this team can shoot. Who you gonna have out there to spread the floor for Obi Toppin? Evan Fournier? Who you gonna have out there? Cameron Reddish that they don't play? Who you gonna have out there? Deuce McBride to spread the floor when Deuce McBride can't knock down an open three himself? My guy. All right. I'm losing it real quick. I'm losing it real quick. Phil, help me out, bro. Help me out here.
Yeah, like here's the thing. When it comes to that, Blood of the Panther. Like, here's the thing. Obi Toppin has been the second best three-point shooter on the team since his injury. But do you?
Oh yeah, I don't even think it's injury, just all season.
Yeah, all season. And here's the thing: is we've seen what happens when players do things that doesn't really fit into Tibbs's mindset of what he wants to do. Like, we are not a team that actually functions based off of what's best for our players, what's best for wins, what's best for anything. It's what's best for Tibbs. Like, it is the weirdest thing to watch. Like, it is seriously creepy kind of thing to see that a coach has this much authority and this much power over what happens. Like, any other coach, you put him on you put Obi Toppin on the Boston Celtics, and you're going to see a high flyer who could shoot a three when he needs to shoot it. Like, we are not that. We are not a team that is run by an actual coach who makes any sense whatsoever. And we're going to talk more about the cancer that is Coach Tibbs later on in the episode with Doug, because there's so much from last night that we could point out that this ship is going down because of Tibbs. Like, we are on the straight up Titanic, and to me, the iceberg is Tibbs. Tibbs' big old jolly bald head just sitting in the water as we crash into him, and we are sinking because we crashed into a Tom Thibodeau.
You remember the movie Armageddon, right? You remember the movie Armageddon?
Yeah.
When they send the oil drillers to space instead of the space astronauts to space to destroy the asteroid. Tom Thibodeau is that asteroid, right? That's who Tom Thibodeau is at this moment. Tom Thibodeau is that asteroid barreling to Earth, going to set this franchise back a few years, because we got to a point where we looked like we was relevant. We looked like we was showing somewhat consistency. And what happened? He starts losing the locker room, right? RJ Barrett last night, I feel RJ Barrett last night should have handled that 100% better. right? I get he was frustrated. I understand he was frustrated, but RJ Barrett, you have to handle that situation better, especially with the media. RJ Barrett, you already knows it's Nick for clicks. It's Nick for clicks. It's clickbait Nick season, right? Especially when the team is struggling in the middle of the season, right before the trade deadline. We are 8 days away from the trade deadline, Mr. RJ Barrett. This is not how you're supposed to do. But before we continue,
before we bring Doug up, you said something about Armageddon, and something perfectly came into my head from that movie. Okay, so you remember that
was a
scene?
Sad movie at that. I ain't gonna front.
It was. That's the scene I'm talking about. All right, that's the scene I'm talking about. You're downstairs. You know, they're there, and friggin'.
I felt like Ben Affleck that entire time. Honestly, the way he was crying.
Ben Affleck is out there, you know, and he's like, he's gonna do it, but then what happens? Bruce Willis comes in and says, "No, young man, you got a future. We got to swap." I feel like the Knicks are that scene with Obi Toppin on the outside. Like, okay, I'm going to do this. Julius Randle's on the inside. But instead of pulling a Bruce Willis and Julius Randle going out there and being like, "All right, young man, it's your time," Julius Randle's hitting clothes on the ship and like dipping Toppin out there to die. So, you know, that's that. But let's bring up Doug.
Let's bring up Doug. Before we bring up Doug, we got something we want to play. Roll the clip. Let's roll the clip. Producer, roll the clip.
Resisted for 48 years cause of size. Ignorance and language is your planet built on lies. The only path to existence is to call for your demise. Fire death! Burn the past like fire death! It's the last night fire death! From the covers to modern NBA, make you obsolete. You are obsolete.
Oh, 100%, Ray. That song slaps. Dougie, what it do, Doug? You got to unmute yourself, Dougie, because you muted backstage.
Oh, word.
There you go. Doug, what it do, my guy? Salute, 3 capital S's. Welcome aboard.
Good morning, fellas. This is awesome. I'm so happy to be here. I love this show. I love
Honestly,
when I can get on the chat, man. It's so much
Honestly,
fun.
I'm very surprised by the way that your voice sounds right now, because the low octaves that you was hitting in that video that we was just playing, right? And then for you to come in like that, I'm like, oh, okay, he's actually a human being with a regular voice.
There's the monster and the regular dude. The monster is the Nick fan, and the regular dude is the regular dude.
I almost did a spin kick and knocked my MacBook Pro off the desk in that song. I was straight like, wow. Like, ready to go.
My man Ray in the building just said, "I'm gonna go follow Doug solely based on that track." Absolutely,
Appreciate you, Ray. I follow back Twitter. I follow back.
I'm gonna start making that, our entry theme song every time we walk through, bro.
For real.
That's dope. That's dope.
Pudgy Nice is in the building. Pudge Nice, salute. Good morning, my man. But Doug, bro, you heard the conversation so far while we had you backstage. Obviously, the game from last night. Phil, if you want to kick it off with the first question to Doug.
Yeah, Doug. So one thing I really want to talk about is our lack of offense when it comes to the fourth quarter. And how that continues to be a story that night in and night out, it's the same thing. Like, it's the same freaking thing. Like, I feel like I'm Will Ferrell in Zoolander, and I'm screaming like that. I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. Like, it's one look. We have one look. The guy's got one look. That's how I feel about Tibbs' offense. And it continues to cost us game in and game out. So, like, what are your thoughts on, like, is there ever a point where we can say, okay, players, grow some cojones, and say, we know this isn't going to work, so we're going to change it up in the fourth quarter, regardless of the ridiculousness that is drawn up?
When I think about this team, I think about, and this offense especially, I think about this. There's just like a collective lack of trust amongst the players, and that's where the ball sticks. And I think that first of all, you can tell how the Knicks are going to have an offensive game starting from the first quarter. Like the first couple of shots that go up, you know for sure whether it's going to be a long night or a struggle or whether shots are going in. Last night, we went down, 10, 15 points early in the game. So you knew for sure that it was going to be a struggle all night. And then the further the game goes along, the more players like Brunson and Randall take it upon themselves to take inefficient, isolated shots as opposed to creating shots out of ball movement, which, first of all, Grimes was thriving last night off of ball movement, off of cuts. He was getting to the basket a lot. And that was a new look for him, even though he was still clanking from three. But it was something that gave me some hope for ball movement and for penetration. But yeah, I think as the game progresses, the culture coming down from Tibbs is like, we don't trust pretty much anybody outside of Brunson and Randall to make big decisions. So we just give the ball to them and see what happens. And I think it's a shame because I think there's a million ways that this team could create better shots on a consistent basis using off-ball movement and screens off the ball, which you just never see. You just never see it.
It's you bring up Quentin Grimes. I'm sorry, Phil. I'll throw it to you right after. But
go for it.
You bring up Quentin Grimes, and when you point out Quentin Grimes, he is the only person that moves around without the ball. Everyone else on the offensive side, they do not move. You have Hartenstein trying to set a few picks here or there with Jericho Sims, but when it comes to when the ball's in someone else's hands, whether it's Julius, whether it's RJ, whether it's Jalen, no one moves. They just stay stagnant. And it's very easy if you're the opposing team to set up your defense when you have nobody moving. And that's been a sad reality for the Knicks. We thought it was going to change when we signed Jalen Brunson at the beginning of the season. We saw some signs that, maybe it can change, but it seems like they've reverted back to their old ways with Tom Thibodeau. ISO ball will either kill us or make us. And it's sad to see because everybody talks about Tom Thibodeau, the amazing mind defensively that he is. He was that when he was with Chicago. The NBA in 2023 is different than what it was back then in 2010 or 2011. You got way more three-point shooters now than you had back then. And also, when you point out to Tom Thibodeau, it's the same offense that he ran in Chicago. Give D Rose the ball. Give Jalen Brunson the ball. Let them go ISO. Let them get open. The only difference is that D Rose was an athletic beast. No one could stop D Rose. So on the one-on-one, D Rose was going to win that matchup 9 times out of 10.
Yeah. And a few things based off what you guys were saying. It's crazy because it's become so foreign to actually move the ball and actually expect to get the ball from these ISO guys that there's one amazing pass that Jalen Brunson made to Grimes yesterday that Grimes missed the layup as he was running up. And the whole reason he missed that was because he was shocked as hell that Jalen Brunson gave up the ball. You'd see that Grimes was not expecting to get the ball as he was cutting. He swore that was a Jalen Brunson ISO to the basket. And then last minute Brunson gave it off and it was foreign. So you ever walk into somewhere where you don't know that it's going to be a different language spoke, you get caught off guard. Even if you know the language, you don't expect it. You're just you stutter. That's what happened with Grimes. It was weird to watch. And then when it comes to what you guys are talking about, when it comes to the offense and what we're talking about players actually doing stuff, it's because if it doesn't work in Tibbs's mindset of how he wants to run the offense, then he shuts it down. So if you look earlier in the season, who was in trade talks all the time? IQ. What was IQ's style of play? Dribble, pass, move around, find someone open. IQ is doing great when it comes to scoring buckets right now, but you know what's come down? His assists. You know what's come down? He's looking for players like Sims and Obi cutting to the basket. He's playing a lot more ISO focused and getting stats similar to a Brunson, and now he's in Tibbs's good favor because it fits Tibbs's style. IQ had to kind of morph into more of a self-focused player to get the approval and the trade talks to stop. Now, instead of, he tries, it's, IQ's looking great out there. He's playing amazing ball. Now Tibbs sings a different song because it fits into his restricted, limited, dumb at best offense. And so that's going to continue to make us suffer. It's going to continue to make us suffer because nothing is flowing. They're starting to figure out our second unit as much as they've figured out our first unit. Guard the guy with the ball. That's it. Like, guard the guy with the ball. And that's why I love listening to the post-game interview, because you have LeBron James, who's shattering all these records left and right. Granted, he's been in the league since I was like 1.5 years old, probably. Like, this dude, actually, we're the same age, but, he's
pre-Vietnam War.
Yeah, he's played for a long time. But what does he say when they start talking to him about this, like, breaking records in the postgame? The reason I'm able to do this is because my team has my back. I'm able to get my team involved. He is celebrating the fact that he passed the 5th assist record almost as much as he's passing the scoring record. That's crazy for the same guy to do it, because John Stockton is who they were like, are you going to try to beat John Stockton? He was like, yeah, I'm not going to be here that long. But John Stockton would never be in the running for most points as well. That's just not what he did. He was a passer. Most players were one or the other. Like, this guy is showing how it can be both. We don't have a player like that at all.
Wait, have you turned into a LeBron fan overnight, bro? Because this is totally the opposite of what you were saying last night during the watch log, Doug. Doug, you should have seen him last night. He was just taking shots like a sniper in Call of Duty against LeBron all night.
No, LeBron will never be GOAT status.
I can't get with you on that, bro. I'm a LeBron stan. I think I consider myself very lucky to be able to watch him play because of the IQ, because of the ball movement, because of the decision making that I am so starved for on my own favorite team that he brings every single year.
Yeah, I've fallen. At first, before 6 years ago, you could have said I was a LeBron hater, a leader in the LeBron hater camp. But over the last 6 years, he's won me over tremendously. He's won. I know a lot of people are upset about the Space Jam movie. Listen, forget about that, right? Forget about that. It was a horrible movie. That was a horrible movie. That was a horrible movie. It was a horrible movie. I get that.
You screwed up.
I get that. But when it comes to
depression stage for that.
When it comes to on the court as a basketball player, winning in the 3 different cities that he was in, whether it's Cleveland, whether it's Miami, whether it's the Lakers, he's that guy, right? And he's going to continue being that guy until he retires. It's weird that we're able to see somebody that was a rookie when I was a freshman in high school, right, still playing at a top level in the NBA. He hasn't slowed down. He's still playing top level. He may not have the athleticism that he used to, but at the same time, he's still a 280-pound deer running down the court that you got to move out the way because you're not trying to get posterized.
Unless you're Jalen Brunson and
unless you're Jalen Brunson,
steal to freaking take a charge from AD and LeBron.
Yeah. What did Negan on the Walking Dead say? Big lady balls Jalen Brunson has. But I'm gonna put this up. I want to get Dougie's take on this. When it comes to last night's game, Stephen Bondy posted this on Twitter afterwards. He said Knicks guard refused to speak to the media after being benched for overtime versus the Lakers. I'm not going to say I got nothing to say. When it comes to RJ Barrett and the situation that happened last night, Dougie, what was your take on it, bro?
Man, there's so much to say about this. It really, first of all, him hearing RJ for the first time publicly show to the media that he's really distressed by the situation. I mean, this is really the first time in his career that something like this has happened. It smacks of the culture of Tibbs and Randall. It's the thing that Randall did consecutively for several games last year. And look, I'm not RJ is a different player, makes his own decisions. My whole point is about the culture in the locker room and the smells that are starting to get out of that locker room that don't look good. We talk about LeBron in that press conference last night. I give a credit to Darvin Ham because ever since he's really kind of figured a couple of tweaks out, they brought in Hachimura, they made some tweaks to the starting lineup. The Thomas Bryant has been more prominently featured. Something happened with this team. They put a lot of trust in Dennis Schroeder to make plays. They don't just put everything on LeBron. So the culture of the team is starting to flourish. If LeBron wasn't happy with his teammates, he's never been afraid to say that. But right now, he's happy with his teammates. right? So now we have a situation in our locker room where there's tons of distrust. Who's going to get the minutes? Who's going to get the last shot? Who's going to get to play down the stretch? Why is RJ benched for poor defense when several other players got blown by too? When several other players got boxed out too? When several other players couldn't hit a damn three to save their lives? Why isn't RJ rewarded for that huge shot that he hit against Boston? Well, he's been the only one consistently when he gets a limited number of clutch opportunities, and he consistently comes up big in big moments. But the idea of him being third in line in this entire culture of isolation, like I haven't played organized ball in a long time, but I play a ton of pickup these days. And when I'm on a team with I'm not very good, right? I just play defense and pass well and stuff. When I'm a team with somebody who's clearly better than me, I look to them to get my confidence up. If they hit me with if I know they can get a bucket and they hit me instead, and they say hit that, I'll put that shot right up with a ton of confidence, because the better player showed that confidence in me. The culture with this team and with this situation with RJ is like, man, like I don't think anybody else can make this basket right now. I got to put it up. Or Tibbs saying, I don't think RJ's playing good enough defense. I don't trust him to turn it around in the final minutes of the game. I got to get him out. There's so much mistrust in this locker room, and not to mention Cam Reddish, not to mention Fournier, Derrick Rose, all those other complicated situations. This is what brings me agita. It's not the players. It's not their skill level and ability level, and even their basketball IQ. It's the culture of the team around Thibodeau.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Great take. If I can, I want to shout out the chat real quick. We got a Fritz Alcindor Jr. in the building. Fritz, what it do?
Love
Sir
Fritz.
Pizza in the building. He said, love that jacket. Oh, the KOD jacket. It's a nice one, right? It's a nice little sweater I got for myself. But yeah, great points that you made, Dougie, when it comes to RJ Barrett. And I'll let Phil take it when it comes to RJ before going on to the next part of this vid. Go ahead, Phil.
Yeah, you know, it's one of those things, you know, that it's horrible. It's horrible to be where we're at as Knicks fans, you know, because you have so many people that are divided. Like, we do not work with this. We do not work if this player stays, if that player stays. Yes, it doesn't work. You know, the thing is we don't know which player would be the best one to leave, because we're not seeing anything from anybody. We're seeing the same thing night in and night out, because we don't have any direction. We don't have any creative offense. We don't have certain things that it's like when you challenge somebody, you're able to really see their weaknesses, you know? But none of our players are being challenged at all. So we're seeing mediocrity across the board every single game from everybody in some way, shape, or form. We're not pushing them to higher standards. We're not pushing them to actually try to play out of their, you know, like, strengths and see if they have other strengths. We don't know what their strengths even are. So for me personally, I see the main thing for me as a Knicks fan is inconsistency is going to happen. You see that in every league. Like, Don't tell me that a certain player is inconsistent, because there's monumental times where Michael Jordan will even say, I was very inconsistent in these times. But he had a drive to win. So even in his inconsistent games or inconsistent moments, he was still able to leave his career as what most will call the GOAT's career, with those inconsistencies on his back. The difference is that he played with heart every single night, and he gave everything, even to the point that homeboy's got the flu and he's out there like, I will die before I don't play. You know, he had that kind of heart. So I always say, I want to see heart more than I want to see efficiency, you know, because the efficiency will come. My problem on this team is that one day when he is feeling like he is the king of New York, Randall will have a great game. And then the next day, Randall will come out and just be like, I don't really care. And you won't see anything. Like, he was lackluster at best last night. So for me, I'm saying if I got to pick somebody to go, I'm going with Randall. That's my personal. That's not hate towards him. He's a good player, but I want to see consistency on the heart more than I do consistency on the numbers. He's been consistent on the numbers. He has not been consistent on the heart. So that's my biggest thing. I think that if we go forward, it has to be taking the boyfriend, best friend, roommate relationship of Tibbs and Randall and sending them both on their way. Randall to another team that he can compete in, Tibbs to retire somewhere far, far away from New York. That's what I want to see.
Yeah.
What's your take on that, Doug?
Well, I don't necessarily agree with you, Phil. I think that
That's fine.
I think that Julius, more so than any of the previous years, even the quote unquote COVID year, has consistently put 110% effort in every game. I think he's not a good defender. Anybody who ever says Julius Randle is a good defender has just seen him on a night where he's trying extra on defense. Like he doesn't think about the game, especially on the defensive end, in an efficient way. He's kind of like a freestyle defender. There's not like a lot of logic and scheming to his role in the defense. So, but I do think that he's been busting his ass all year and staying in like immaculate shape to play these huge minute loads and like having, generally speaking, a very like an exceptional year. So I don't agree that I don't put a lot of the blame for what's going on Julius himself. I put more of the blame on that same stuff I keep hammering about, of the culture that's created for him to be the alpha when he's not necessarily the alpha. Skill wise, I think I think you can make an argument for 4 or 5 different players being the best player on this team. And it's not clear that it's Julius Randle. You could say he's the best offensive player, definitely not the best two-way player on this team. Absolutely not. So you have to understand that when he's empowered, like look the Kendrick Perkins tweet that's on the screen right now. Horrible ATO by Tibbs. Put the damn ball in Brunson's hands. Those plays are earmarked for Randle. He's the chosen guy. So he runs roughshod over this team, and he looks like an asshole doing it. Sorry, I don't know if I can curse or whatever, but he looks like a jerk.
Asshole's cool. Asshole's cool.
My bad, guys. My bad.
No, it's good.
I'll keep it clean. But he looks like a selfish player because he's asked to be a selfish player.
Yeah. I listen, I can't disagree with you. You hit it right on the head. And asshole is very Nickelodeon friendly. So as long as it's Nickelodeon friendly, we good.
The whole part makes it trouble. And I apologize.
Yeah, there you go. No, but man, I was having this conversation last night with a friend of mine who called me real late, around like 2 a.m, just to talk about the Knicks. And we were talking, and I brought up a joke, just joking, but when I sat back with it and thought about it, it's true. When you look at this Knicks team, Tom Thibodeau, he's trying to recreate the same team he had when he was with the Chicago Bulls. Julius Randle, he's the next Carlos Boozer, right? When you look at the possibility of trading for OG Anunoby, that's just Corey Brewer, who could knock down a 3-point shot whenever he's open. When it comes to Jalen Brunson is just D Rose who can't dunk it on anybody, right? He's trying to recreate the same thing that he had in Chicago, the same success that he had in Chicago, every spot he's been to. He went to Minnesota, tried to recreate it. He tried to turn Karl Anthony Towns into Joakim Noah, who passes the ball and plays defense, and that wasn't Karl Anthony Towns style of play, right? So every spot he's been in, it's the constant. First year, it looks good, right? First 2 years, it looks like there's something there. But after a while, it just spoils, right? Even in Chicago, right? Even when he was with Chicago, at the end in Chicago, it looked horrible because he had an injured D Rose. He had a Jimmy Butler that was fed up with what was going on in Chicago, but he wanted a bigger role in Chicago, wasn't getting it. And then he went to Minnesota, traded for Jimmy Butler in Minnesota, and then that blew up in his face, right? So when it comes to Tom Thibodeau, this has been a man who has fallen and who has fell upward in his life, especially in the NBA. It is not working in New York. You could tell there's favoritism out there. You could tell he doesn't like Obi Toppin that much. He didn't want the Knicks to draft him. Cam Reddish is on the bench. He's not going to see any playing time no time soon. And then RJ Barrett, he's the next victim that's fallen in line. And this is not the first time RJ Barrett has been benched in the fourth quarter this season. It's like the second or third time that has happened, right? But this is the time that it sticks out worse because of the loss and because how RJ Barrett handled the situation at the end. And I'm going to say it again. RJ Barrett should have handled that situation way better than what it was, right? But I understand the frustration. I get the frustrations. Would I have liked him to handle it better? Absolutely. But do I understand where he's coming from? 100%.
Yeah, I honestly, I don't know if I agree with that. Because there have been many times where people don't say anything, and I think that just adds to the issue. It just adds to the issue of Tibbs getting away with what Tibbs gets away with. And so I think the fact that so many people have been like, "Oh, RJ is just as much catered, teacher's pet as Julius Randle is," for him to actually speak up at all shows no, that's not the case. There's something going on here, and to me, I'd rather it publicly be out there that there is something disgruntled going on with our players and our coaching staff, because there's already so much uncertainty that we have to face as Knicks fans. Like the fact that all of us are still guessing for however long what really happened with Cam Reddish. The fact that all of us are like, okay, does Dolan even care? Like the fact that all of us are always questioning and guessing. The fact that all of us, even in the watch party last night, all of us were saying to each other, why have we not seen RJ Barrett at all? Like if RJ would have just brushed it over and been like, oh, it's just some stuff that we have to work on, like we've seen time in and time out, like from our players just saying, yeah, well, we'll address it. Like Tibbs always does, like, oh, gotta look at the tape. Like he never really talks on the issue. Like I think that was freeing for me. That was freeing for me to say, oh my goodness, is there a kink in this armor? Yeah. Is there a kink? Like, is this a possible like crack that we can now start to edge and maybe see a Knick life without Tibbs one day? Is that actually possible? Like, that was my hope. I was able to sleep better seeing that tweet.
I just got a notification from Twitter, and I'll throw it to Doug right after this. But apparently, the New York Knicks are favored to get OG Anunoby. And apparently, according to NBACentral.com, the New York Knicks offered 3 potential unprotected first-round picks for OG Anunoby. Unprotected first-round picks for OG Anunoby. This is what scary. I do not understand. This is what I do not understand. For Donovan Mitchell, you didn't want to give 3 protected first-round picks for Donovan Mitchell. Why are we doing this for OG Anunoby? OG Anunoby, this is nothing against you, my guy. You're just an NBA player that you just got a job to do, right? But if we weren't going to give up 3 unprotected first-round picks for Donovan Mitchell, why are we doing it for OG Anunoby?
Oh, I know why we're doing it for OG Anunoby. Like,
go ahead, Phil.
We have a coach that is supposedly a defensive-minded coach. Yet every post-game interview, and it's in my good, the bad, and the ugly, the thing he talks about is how our offense looked good, but our defense was insufficient. This is a guy who says, what I bring to the table is that I am this Jedi of defense. And yet he continues to have to say that our defense is why we lost the game. So for him, that's not a good look. For everyone to go, oh, the defensive guy can't have us play good defense? Like, our offense is good. He knows nothing about offense. Okay, so our players are the only reason we have a good offense. Our coach is the reason we have a bad defense. Why is Tibbs here? So with Donovan, you're just getting another offensive player. That doesn't help Tibbs go, see, my defense. OG is already not great on offense, but he's known to be great on defense. So you bring him in, it fixes inadequacies again in coaches' like defensive like schemes, because OG's going to be good defensively no matter how bad Tibbs is as a coach. So it's a Band-Aid. It's a player that would be a Band-Aid over more insufficiencies that Coach Thibodeau has.
This is the Tibbs entire agenda, which kind of limits your talent ceiling, is just like you find the guys that you can slam those square pegs into the round holes,
Yes.
all up and down the structure, right? So when you get an OG Anunoby, you get a piece that fits better, right? The thing, I don't have a problem with the acquisition of OG Anunoby in principle. I think he's a quality player that actually does address a lot of the stuff that we're weak at, right? Perimeter defense, shooting, length, matchup potential for somebody like LeBron or Kevin Durant. Like, there's a much more difficult matchup to have OG on you than it is to have RJ on you. But the question then becomes, what does the rotation look like when he gets here? Who there's not enough room on this boat for everybody right now. So why don't you send out one of these players instead of 3 unprotected picks to make your rotation make some more sense? Take advantage of this moment to clean. If you're going to commit to this guy and his style of lineup management and rotations, like, commit all the way. Make it so he has the players that he wants. It sucks for us, right? Because we're always going to be left wondering, like, what if Cam Reddish wasn't expected to be like a 3-and-D player with no personality? What if he was allowed to have isolation looks? What if he was allowed to have screens and set plays run for him? What would that look like? We'll always wonder that stuff. But once you get a guy like OG Anunoby in the door, you have a question of, like, how do you manage this already crowded area between the 2 and the 4 that this team has? Like, that's really where there's so much logjam there. So I don't know how they would deal with that. And 3 unprotected is not. I've been vocal. I don't want to sound like I'm flip-flopping, because I've been very vocal about liking the player and liking the fit. But the question marks of what is the cost and what is the decision making once he gets in here? Those are the things that scare me.
If I can, just want to give a quick shout out. I just want to give a quick shout out to Harlem Girl real quick. First time seeing you in the chat. Harlem Girl, salute, 3 capital S's. Also as well, Harlem Girl. On Fridays, we got an open panel segment at 11:30. We put the link in the chat, and anyone in the chat is more than welcome to come up on the panel. Is that something that you're looking forward to doing, Miss Harlem Girl? But yeah, Phil, to Doug's point, I just want to say, where is OG going to play? Is Grimes going to the bench? Like, and this is the thing with it. Like, after last night, I wouldn't be surprised if they include RJ Barrett in that trade.
I know, I agree.
And send RJ Barrett to Toronto, because if you think about it, we trade for OG Anunoby. OG Anunoby, he's not a shooting guard. He's a small forward. They move RJ from the shooting guard to the small forward position. It's not crazy to think that we trade for OG Anunoby and then RJ goes on the bench.
You could argue that it makes more sense. You could argue that starting 5 makes more sense with OG 100%. At the small forward. You really could.
Yeah.
So,
but maybe that's why.
Sorry, go ahead.
Coaching maybe yesterday. Maybe that was good coaching by Tibbs. Maybe he's showing RJ early. This is where you're going to be when we acquire this trade. Maybe that, like, end of the 4th and overtime, not seeing any minutes is kind of foreshadowing of what's going to happen. And honestly, I think the scary part is that this trade might move the needle slightly enough to continue to keep Tibbs here. But I don't think that it's going to get us where we need to go 2-3 years from now. And now we don't have picks to even use for the draft or to barter for a star later on. Like, 3 picks for OG is a lot, when we still have salaries that we can't move on the bench right now. Like, so nasty, bro. That's really scary. Is. That's sad.
It really is. Right?
Before we go to the next point real quick, I want to let everybody in the chat know while you guys are here, just in case different people got to leave. We are, part of KOD Media, but we are doing things a little bit different. KOD Media is actually going to continue to be the hub for our shows and other people's shows, but our actual content is going to be moving to its own channel in about 3 episodes. So we've built a lot of friends and followers and subscribers through this, and we thank you guys for that. But if you guys can, I just posted the new link for the Morning Brew Sports. That's going to be where you see Jigga, Hector, and myself, and all of the shows that we currently do and the spinoffs that we're going to be doing. So if you guys can continue to follow KOD, we appreciate that. We'll still be doing exclusive stuff here, but like our main show is going to be moving to those. So we would love your guys' support. retweets, all that stuff for the link that I just posted. And if you guys like what we're doing, we're really trying to do more and more and more of it. So hit that little subscribe button, hit the little what's that button? That thanks button.
The thing. The bell notification. The bell notification. And just so people
thanks.
And just so people know, when it comes to us moving our stuff over to the Morning Brew Sports, it's not anything bad. It's actually because we actually did so good. They want us to put more content out. And being that KOD has a lot of different shows on the channel, we don't want to conflict with other people's time slots, right? So moving over to the Morning Brew Sports allows us to have extra content that we could put out there. Maybe down the line, Doug may want to have a full-time show on the channel, and that's something that we could work out. Sorry to put you on the spot right there, Doug, but I just had to do that. But but no, honestly, appreciate everybody, the grind, the growth that we have gone through over this past 6-8 months, being a part of KOD, especially with the Knicks Morning Brew starting at the beginning of the season. We appreciate everybody. I see people in the chat. My man Kent the Haitian is in the building. Sac passe, brother. Hope all is well. Hope all is well, Kent. But Harlem Girl said I subscribed yesterday. Appreciate you, Harlem Girl. Appreciate you. Some of our interviews that a lot of people may not have seen is already on the channel. So if you haven't seen the conversation, the interview we had with Jerry Ferrara, it's on the channel. If you didn't see the video we had, the episode with Ja Rule, it's on the channel. Same thing with Bill Pito, Brett Siegel, Eddie Presley, and stuff like that. Go ahead, Phil.
Yeah, and so let's move on to the next topic. Heck, what's the next one you want to pull up?
Well, when it comes to what Ian Begley spoke about, the three options, I'll read it back. I'll bring it back. So Tom Thibodeau, on last play of regulations, there's three options. Hold on, wait. I got to put the Tom Thibodeau voice up. On last play of regulations, there's three options on that play. So they have read the defense. LeBron was on Jalen and Davis was on Julius. And depending on what they're doing, they could go either way. Now, I'm going to play it a little bit forward because we have the evidence. Jalen Brunson right here, he was wide open when Julius Randle was double teamed and decided to hold the ball for a couple of seconds before driving to the paint. Phil, Doug, what's your take on this?
Yeah. So I posted on Twitter my good, the bad, the ugly. So watch that on the new channel because I go in detail and I pretty much lost my freaking mind about this. The fact that this guy can't take responsibility for a single freaking thing is ridiculous. Like, this is the stupid play you picked up. Like, you called a timeout to say, hey, I got this great idea. For these last 5 seconds, I want it to either be ISO ball Julius or ISO ball Brunson. I just thought of that one. That's a great play, isn't it? Like, the fact that was his thought process. And here's the thing. If you look at the stats, you look at the fact that Julius wasn't very efficient that game. If you had – and also look at the fact that anytime he's tried to be clutch, he's just not clutch. Like, he plays good games, but he is not a clutch player. So you have three options. Julius Randle should not have been one of those. You had three players that were around 50% from shooting that game. Brunson, Quickly, and Grimes. That should have been your three options. You give it to the one player who takes a crap in his pants anytime he gets double teamed and just like gifts it to players like, oh, someone's coming. Merry Christmas. Take the ball. I also pooped my pants. I got to go. Like, that's the guy you're going to give the ball to in clutch time as if they're not going to double team him. Like, look at Brunson. Brunson is there going, hey, I got paid a lot of money for moments like these. Hey, big money guy, right here. And Julius Randle holds it until LeBron comes over and pretty much just gifts them the ball. If anyone else would have, as soon as Randle got the ball, I knew it was overtime. I knew there was no way we were going to win at all. Like, I knew if we go into overtime, we are losing because this is what our creative offense looks like. So, fire Tibbs after a moment like that. Tell Julius Randle he's not allowed to have the ball in the last minute of any game, and that's how I feel about those moments.
Why it's not a bad play. Like draw a double. You have 2.5 seconds when this double is up in Randall's grill. One pass to Brunson, draws a defender in the middle. I guess it's Troy Brown, who comes over to help on Brunson, and then quickly's open with 1 second left. 2 swings and it's over, and then it looks like a good play. But it's just like, go get us a bucket. Like that's what they say. That's what he says to them.
Bro.
Go
He
get us a
literally
bucket. Like
he gave Julius Randle was given the ball with 4.6 seconds left. Right, he made this spin move right here. He has about 3 seconds left. He decided to set up an ISO play, right, an ISO stance with 4 seconds left on the clock. Like that right there goes to show basketball IQ is non-existent when it comes to Julius Randle. It's what they say, talking to a kid, you talk in one ear and it goes out the other. Like, honestly, look at Jalen Brunson wide open. And like you said, even if Troy Brown was to step up and get in Jalen Brunson's face, we still have an option with Emmanuel quickly. Maybe the shot, maybe the time wasn't on our side, but it's still a better option than getting double teamed, trying to drive with a double team, and then not even getting a shot off before the shot clock went off. To me, someone needs to be held accountable. And when it comes to Julius Randle, he's never held accountable. Everybody else is held accountable on this team except for Julius Randle. In my eyes, that's how I see it. He's Tom Thibodeau's favorite. That's his guy. That's the guy he's going to ride with. That's the guy who got the extension with the front office. Leon Rose, they don't want to look like they got egg on their face if they decide to go another way off of Julius Randle. So when it comes down to it, it's just guys trying to patent their resume for the next job, right? Because if you think of it like this, if you're Leon Rose, right, and you have on your resume that you gave a guy an extension and then traded him 2 years into that extension, Doug, I'm going to ask you this. If that was my resume and you own the Sacramento Kings or you own any other NBA franchise, would you hire me as the head coach? I mean, as the GM? I wasted a top 10 pick in Obi Toppin. Yep. I gave a power forward a 4 to 5 year extension. I traded him 2 years into that extension. Do I look like I get a bonus? I get a contract extension as a GM? No.
The timing of all their moves it's always too early or too late. It's always a little off. It's always a little like, well, you're creating a problem that you're going to have down the road. You're creating an issue that you're going to have to solve down the road. And whatever, we'll deal with it later. And then it always blows up in their face. It's happened consistently. Obi Toppin and Julius Randle trading a first-round pick for Cam Reddish is a statement to your coach being like, we want to evaluate this kid. But nobody has the guts to come down from the office and say, listen, why aren't you playing this dude? We went to see what kind of upside we could get from him, and now you're depreciating our assets. It's the self-imposed ceiling of this organization that they consistently live with. Heck, I think you're absolutely right. Like, why would these guys get another job? It's mismeasured decision making, and it's risk-averse decision making that keeps us where we're at. So I don't know what's going to happen if the first big swing they take is OG Anunoby. It's strange. It's just strange. It's just
hold on. I want to shout out Kent the Haitian in the chat because Kent literally just texted me. Listen, these are Julius number stats and clutch time, and they're horrible. So shout out to Kent. Shout out to Kent for sending this to me. So when it comes to regular field goal percentage, not crunch time, anything like that, Julius Randle 78.5% from the field, which is phenomenal. When it comes to clutch time, Julius Randle is 7.2% effective from the field. Hold on. 7.2% effective from the field in clutch time situations.
Why get
clutch time situations with less than 2 minutes. He's 2.8% effective.
Oh my god.
This
is the problem with the Knicks is like they're just the inability to look in the mirror and be like, this is what's really going on. Like, how do you not look at those numbers and draw up a different look? How do you not just admit to yourself he's not the guy to give it to for the game winner? You have 2 or 3 guys that can do it. Quick, Brunson and RJ, I would be thrilled with taking the last shot. If the consensus was one of those three guys is going to get it every time that we need a bucket in crunch time, I would be thrilled. But instead, we look away. Instead, we continue to look away from all the problems. It's so frustrating. It's so frustrating.
You would think after that Boston game where RJ wasn't playing well, yet still came in at the end and was clutch for us, that would say something to your franchise. Like, yeah, he's not playing well again, but we know that he is clutch in these moments. It does not matter how good Randall is doing in a game. You put him in that last minute where we need to rely on him, and we can't. I don't know why we keep on doing it. That's the definition of crazy. Doing something over and over and over again, expecting different results when it's proven that that is the only result you're going to get. I do not get it. It is so frustrating as a Knicks fan to watch these kind of mistakes be made over and over. Last night, I would have given that final shot to Hartenstein over Randall. Like, straight up.
Hartenstein was straight up hooping last night, bro. I gotta be honest with you. He's been hooping all of a sudden. I said, yo, he's putting on the floor, getting straight to the rack from like outside the paint. That's pretty nasty. He's done that a couple times over the last few days. I gotta give kudos to Hartenstein, bro. Like, I was really a doubter. But yeah, I agree. I would also rather let him take a three than that freaking shot we got yesterday, bro.
He was my good yesterday on today on my good, the bad, and the ugly, which is hilarious because anyone that's in our watch parties or who's watched us up until this point since like game 2 of the season, I've been like, get him the frig out of here. And then
me too.
These last few episodes, I'm just like,
oh my god,
hey, anyone got this guy's Twitter? Maybe me and him can grab some pizza.
It's honestly, Doug, I honestly think it's really because he's playing on national TV. Honestly, because these last few games have been on TNT, and those are the games that he has balled out.
He's honestly, like, yo, Clippers, take me home, bro.
Basically, somebody come save me. Milwaukee, please, someone come get me.
For real. Jokic of the East is delivering.
Jokic of the East on full display last night, bro. Unbelievable.
And then it goes a little bit further when it comes to his free throws, right? Normal percentage when it comes to free throws, he's shooting 76.5%. But during clutch time, he's shooting 73% from the free throw line. With less than 2 minutes, he's just shooting at 70%. So as the pressure is building up, as the situations are becoming more crucial, his efficiency goes down. And the numbers don't lie. And this is something that has been something that's been a part of his entire career. The best season he had when it comes to clutch time was back in 2017, where in clutch time he was shooting 12.5% from the field. That's the highest he had it in his whole career. Every other year is 2.6%, 5.3%, 3.8%. With the Knicks, he was shooting 6% efficiency from the field in clutch situations. It's numbers don't lie. Numbers don't lie.
Yeah, that's insane. That's insane.
That upset me, bro. I have a rumble in the tummy now.
There's no path for a player to prove himself to be the better option who's not the chosen guy. There's no path for an Emmanuel Quickly to prove himself to be the guy. There's no path for RJ Barrett to prove himself to be the guy in the last 2 minutes, although he does get a lot of run. But there's no room for surprises in the Tibbs system. There's no room for a Linsanity could never happen under Tibbs. Let's put it that way.
No, never. and here's the thing: is that quote right there? I kind of agree with you, except here's the problem: LeBron is a better player than Randall. LeBron does not find his value in solely being the guy that delivers. We talked about it earlier. LeBron finds value in being an all-around player. He loves the fact that he plays defense. He loves the fact that he gets his team involved. He loves the fact that he can be on the scoring and assist record because those are both important to him. Those are not things that are important to Randall. Like Randall, you just said it. His highest efficiency, I think you said, was like 12 years ago, and then every other year it's been like 6 to 2%, and if that was my efficiency in clutch time, I would be like, no, don't give me the ball. Like, I'm not that guy. Like, I don't do well in these situations. I want my team to win. Let's give it to somebody else. Even if the play was drawn up for me, I'd be like, how the hell do I get it out of my hands? I'm only 2% effective. Like, I would be looking. But his head did not look up once to see who was open. Like, he said, my number was called. Randall time. Like, it reminds me of you see that movie with Ben Stiller and what's his name that passed away. And he's like, let it rain.
Philip Seymour
Hoffman.
Philip
Seymour Hoffman.
That is Randall in clutch time. He's like, rain time, let it rain. Like, he knows it's going to be awful, but he goes in with such pride. I can't stand that.
Jesus Christ. Honestly, it's...
The Knicks eventually have to ask an honest question of themselves. There's 3 players, can't have them all forever. Yep. It's not going to work. The big 3, I don't think, is the final form. What's the tough decision you're going to make between which 1 or 2 of them you move on from and when?
Yeah. It's going to be a very interesting off season. And we're having this conversation while on February 1st, the Knicks we are over 500. That's the weird thing about this situation.
That is the weird thing about it.
Us Knicks fans, it's like if you were just tuning in, had no context of what's going on with the season, you would think we're like 30 games under 500, the worst record in the league. Where we are at right now on February 1st, we are in the play-in tournament. We are over 500. One of the first times we've been over 500 at this mark within the past 20 years. It's probably been 3 other times that happened, right? So when it comes to the season, we are actually doing better than what we did last year. But we're doing better than what we did last year while still getting worse, if that makes any sense. We're doing better than what we were last year, but at the same time, it seems like the team is getting worse because Tibbs looks like he's losing the locker room. It looks like Tibbs is looking at. He already lost Obi Toppin. He lost Cam Reddish, and now you're losing R.J. Barrett. Now R.J. Barrett, who's supposed to be the franchise kid, who's supposed to be the baby face of the franchise for the next 15 years. You lost him now? Something's going to happen, bro. Something's going to happen.
Brunson is such an immense talent upgrade from last year that's why we are where we are. To just have that level of talent on the roster that wasn't there last year, because that's all this offensive scheme is like somebody just out-talent the other team. Please, somebody help us. Somebody get us a bucket. So just by that fact, our floor has been raised. But the issues are getting worse and worse, and the process looks bad. Because when you watch a team like Oklahoma City, you see guys playing for each other. In nights when they lose, I just watched them take an L to Golden State, but they played a beautiful process through the entire game that was based around creating shots for each other, creating easy baskets for each other, making the right defensive rotations and communicating. They did that the whole game, and they just don't have the talent and experience to close out a Klay Thompson and Steph Curry. But you watch that game, and they have a worse record than we do by a few games, and you say, wow, this team has a process that ultimately, when these players mature, that's going to lead to a winning product. We are built like a house of cards. That's the main difference, and why the air and the vibe around this team is not so good right now.
We're built like not even a house of playing cards, right? I'm not sure if you guys used to do this, but when I was in high school, I used to draw my own Yu-Gi-Oh cards because I couldn't afford actual Yu-Gi-Oh cards. So we are built on like the fake Yu-Gi-Oh card deck.
Like thin paper Yu-Gi-Oh cards.
Where you just write in whatever effect you wanted to write in at that time. That's how we are built as a franchise, and it's the same old Knicks. Like it's the same. Oh, Knicks, it's not changed, bro.
The way I see it, this is the problem for me. Is it reminds me of the stories you hear where a guy or a girl get into an abusive relationship, but they compare it to the abusive relationship they were previously in. And they're like, well, I don't get punched in the mouth anymore, but. So I'm okay with him calling me these names. Like, no, abuse is abuse. Like, us Knicks fans are still getting, abused, whether it's a little bit less than last season. we still need to see it as not a good relationship. Like, we still need to see that, like, okay, at the end of the day, we are going to walk away with an L. Like, bottom line. Like, it showed that net game without Durant. Like I said before, there's some games where people say, oh, so-and-so wasn't there, and I'm like, come on, that guy's not that big of a difference. But the fact that we walked away with an L against the Nets the way that we did, and Durant wasn't there, should prove to every single Knicks fan that we are not going anywhere this season. Like, we are not. You play Brooklyn or a team of equal status to Brooklyn for 5-7 games, there's no way in God's green earth we are winning at all. Like, our ISO ball maybe gets us 1-2 wins max. We are going to be shut down. And so when I see Kent's thing right there that says, I don't understand, you don't make Randall available and get great capital from him, you're not the minority, because I'm with you. Like, I am with you. The reason we don't do that is because we are in that abusive relationship where it's not as painful as before, so people focus on that instead of what is still an issue, which is that our roster, the way it is not going anywhere. Like, even with an OG and an Obi, we are not going to the finals. Not happening. So, for me, yes, trade him while he's hot. Send him to a team that wants to win now, because even though we're in win now mode, we shouldn't be, because we're not winning now no matter what. So, send him to someone else that is win now. Either get better at, like, you know, bench scoring picks, get our picks back, especially if we're going for OG and Anunoby. Find another team that really wants to win, give them Randall, and get back some good picks. And then let's think about next year and the year after.
2 places Randall can go. He can go to that chaos that's in Arizona, the Phoenix Suns.
Yep.
We get back whatever we could get back for the Phoenix Suns, or where I think he should be traded to for the betterment of his career, trade him to Miami.
Oh, Miami.
If Julius Randle was a part of that culture that's in Miami, right, with Eric Spoelstra, right, with everything that goes on there, the crazy man who's in charge of the Miami Heat or whatever, Pat Riley would get the best out of Julius Randle. He needs to be in an environment where no one takes anything, right? I don't think Popovich will want to waste the last few years of his life trying to get the best out of Julius Randle, but I think Eric Spoelstra over there and Pat Riley in Miami could get the best out of Julius Randle and get him back to that level where he needs to be, right? I just want to look out for Julius Randle. Phoenix will probably get more in return from Phoenix, but Miami will be the better place for Randle to land for his career and his mental.
I wouldn't mind that. Like, we give you Randall, Cam Reddish, you give us some
picks and
Tyler
Duncan Robinson.
Hero.
Take no, not
Tyler
even.
Hero. I want Hero.
Portland is another option as well. That you need to think about teams that are desperate to make an upgrade soon. Like Phoenix is getting scared, right? That window is closing on competition. Yeah. The same thing with Portland, because Dame's getting older and that roster is kind of stuck. They keep running into the same middling issues that keep them at that same level. So if you find a team that's desperate enough, you got to pick up the phone, man. Like, I don't care what agency you're with, the players with. I don't care who's friends with whose dad, with whose uncle, who was at whose bar mitzvah. I don't give a crap, bro. Like, we need to work on making this team better for the long term. And that's the thing I worry about too. It's like, you hire Brunson's dad. What if somebody calls tomorrow and says, yo, I'm going to give you 2 unprotected picks and this quality young player for Jalen Brunson because we need a scorer. We need a killer. What are you going to say? No? You're going to say no because you're afraid dad's going to get upset? Like, what kind of business sense is this front office working with? Because there's a lot of talent here. There's talent in the building right now, quality young talent that are going to mature likely into high-level role players, and in some cases, potentially like fringe all-star players. You know, so you have the talent here. You just need to be smart, and you need to be honest about the ceiling and the trajectory of the talent that's here. I think Grimes is great. I think Quickly is great. I don't know anything about Obi Toppin, but I have a sneaking suspicion he's pretty damn good. So, like, you got to be honest, bro. You got to be honest about what's here for the long term.
Yeah. No, you said Portland, and I actually think that's pretty great. You know, like, you put, especially now, because they need to figure something out, especially because from what I've read, Jeremy Grant hasn't agreed to their offer, you know? So
they're still working on it. They're having trouble finalizing that deal.
If they don't if they don't look like they're going to win now, he's not going to, or at least win next year. I don't think he'll resign. So, like, adding a piece like Randall to that could help, like the push for him, like, hey, we'll even bring in Julius Randle to keep you around, because we know that it'll make us stronger, to contention. Trade someone like Hart, I'll take Hart. I'll take Hart
Absolutely.
off the bench, Hart
Hold
and
on.
some picks. Give you
My
Randle.
man Ken, he said, I need an open-minded coach who thinks outside the box. I'm looking around the league like Mike Brown got the Kings balling.
He's
The
spitting.
Kings. The
The
Kings.
Kangs. They are.
The Kings.
What a blast. Like, as a basketball fan, to watch that team
Mhm.
on League Pass, the ball zipping around everywhere. The pace is up tempo. They use Sabonis in the post beautifully with his passing. There's so much to like about the Kings team. And I feel like from an organizational trajectory standpoint, last year they are not so different from where we are now. So if you look at, especially before they made the Halliburton trade, so if you look critically at your organization, you can make a few moves to get yourself going in the right direction. The Kings are amazing, man, and I love what Mike Brown does for them too.
What
Such a great
stands
coach.
out to me more when it comes to the Sacramento Kings is that they have approached coaching from a different philosophy than anyone else in the NBA. They have approached NBA coaching like it's the NFL. Mike Brown is the head coach who was a defensive-minded head coach, but he has assistant coaches on his bench that are offensive-minded assistant coaches that he allows to run the offense. He handles the defense, and they handle the offense. And if you're somebody like Tom Thibodeau, that's how it should be, but it's not. But what Sacramento's doing, what Mike Brown is doing, he's empowering his assistant coaches so they can make the calls offensively. And it's showing to prove, like Doug said, you watch the Sacramento Kings, they zip the ball around like they're an undefeated NCAA team. They actually look like a college team that loves playing against each other. What was it? It's the Connecticut, the Huskies that were like 82-0 or something like that. The women's league or something. That's how they play, man. And it shows that they all trust each other and they don't have a star. They just got a bunch of people that are just playing together. Sabonis may be their closest thing to an all-star that they have.
Excuse me. And Herder,
here's the thing.
Taking that next leap. Yeah, sorry, Phil, go ahead.
Yeah. No, here's the thing about the Kings. Like, a lot of people did not give them the credit that they deserved when trades started to move, But what you realize is they built around a player.
Oh, crap.
Wait,
there's breaking news.
Breaking
Ken, what's the breaking news? Ken, please.
Stop, Ken. Stop playing with us, bro. Come on, stop playing with us, bro.
Don't lie to me, bro.
Stop playing with us right now.
Really?
Oh, God. Jesus Christ, Ken. Jesus Christ.
That's dope. That's dope. That's
Yeah,
good
that's
news.
dope.
All right.
That's dope.
That's great. Back to what I was saying.
I knew it. I knew he was playing with us, bro.
Okay.
Oh, God.
The thing is they are building a roster around someone who can play really well offensively for himself at times, but is also just as much a star in looking for other people. You look at the way Sabonis plays, Sabonis is always making the best decision. He plays like a guard when it comes to like looking for his scoring opportunities. He is always the guy that's going to take a bucket when it's there, but he's also going to find a pass that makes you go, holy crap, which is the same thing you see in Jokic, is bigger guys who are willing to say, I can get a bucket, but I don't need to always be the guy that gets the bucket if someone has a better opportunity. Mm-hmm. We don't have that. Mm-hmm. We do not have that. Like, when Randall gets the ball, Randall is 99% of the time he's shooting. Like, he's not really looking unless he's at the top of the court. That's when he passes away. And that's just in order to then find another way to get himself open, like to then be the center again. But we do not have someone who's getting the ball in the paint and going, all right, any other opportunities? Nope. All right, now I'm going to shoot. So I think the way that they've structured it is insane. Like, it's selfless ball. It's a team that looks really, really well with one another. You're seeing De'Aaron Fox and Sabonis, build off of each other. You have role players that are like stepping up in their position because they actually have a role, as opposed to what we call role players is guys that just need to get Brunson or Randall the ball again. Like, that's not really considered a role. Like, hey, what's my role? Get these guys the ball. That's not a role, you know? So I think in order to compete, we're really going to need to have somebody that comes in and coaches our guys differently. There's one thing that my wife and I, we're considering homeschooling our kids. And one thing that we've been realizing in this person that we follow on social media, she was talking about how a lot of times in order to do it successfully, we have to like unschool ourselves to realize that like the way that the regular school is done is probably not the best way to do it. So we have to unlearn ourselves. I think that's going to be the case if we get another coach. A lot of our players are going to have to unlearn the toxic ways of Tibbs to learn how to actually be a functioning basketball team.
Yeah.
Word.
And it's also that begs the question: do you make the change now or over the summer, so that at least they have the summer to learn a new system? I can't watch any more Tibbs, though. I would love for them to do it today.
I would love for it now. Like, I would rather do it now, have all the hiccups and stuff now to show like who's going to actually be able to fit this new system and who's not, so that then when summer comes, we can let go whoever needs to be let go.
James Dolan, James Dolan is not going to allow that to happen. If you saw his interview on WFAN, first of all, James Dolan hardly goes on the radio to have interviews on the regular, just in general.
Yeah,
he was on WFAN. Only reason he went up there is because of everything he's going on right now with the lawsuit that's happening. But he is selling us the idea that the Knicks are going to the playoffs. That's everything he kept talking about on the radio. We are going to the playoffs. We are going to the playoffs, the playoffs, the playoffs, the playoffs. All he cares about is the playoffs. So nothing's going to happen this season, Phil. I would love for it to happen this season. Obviously, changes. I would love for changes to happen, but it's not going to happen until the offseason, right? This is the first time that this front office and this coaching staff hasn't been fired after getting the job. Let's put that out there. It was the first time we had a regime in charge that is able to work out the entire contract length when it comes to Leon Rose and Scott Perry, and they haven't been fired. Same thing with Tom Thibodeau. How many head coaches did we go through over the past 10 years, from Hornacek to everyone that we had that we've seen until now, right? Yeah. There's been about 10 different head coaches over the past 20 years. So James Dolan wants to change the outside perspective of the New York Knicks, showing that it's a compatible franchise that just doesn't fire head coaches in the middle of their contracts, right? When it comes to that, he has to pay for the entire contracts, right? So he wants to actually show a product that looks like it has some level of smartness or some level of consistency. That's what we're seeing, but it's coming at the detriment of us fans. We are feeling the burden of it. We are feeling the brunt of it. We should have done this years ago if that was the case. Now we have something that's not working, and instead of correcting it, they're going to try to force it in. Like Doug said, it's like sticking a square box in a circle hole. That's what they're going to try to do. Yeah. Phil, any last words before we dip out, my beautiful brother?
No, like it's sad because what it would really take is numerous games where we get our teeth absolutely kicked in. Like if we would have not just lost by a point here and there on national television, but we would have actually gotten spanked. And unfortunately, that's not going to happen. I'm not saying that I want to root for losses because I don't do that. I still always want to see heart and effort. But I know, unfortunately, that we are probably going to be stuck with Tibbs. So all I can say is continue to support one another as Knicks fans. Like this is like our version of AA, content creation, like talking to one another in spaces and stuff like that.
Totally.
Like, my name's Phil Porto, and I have a problem. I'm a Knicks fan. Like that. That's what this is. So let's support each other, even if we agree to disagree. Like let's do it respectfully, and let's just continue to see what happens. Like these next 8 days are going to be crazy. Tomorrow we play the Heat. I think again, if we play like we did yesterday, we'll take another L. To the Heat. They're trying to, stack up again. They're trying to get back up in the standings for the East. So have fun, respect each other, continue to support all the content creators that are out there, whether it's Knicks, spaces or it's YouTube creators, like none of us are getting paid by the organization to do this, most of us are being ignored by the organization. So show support and just continue doing you guys. And like we said earlier, follow the new channel while this one's here. Hit those super thanks if you can. Spread the word about the show. If there's anyone else you want to see come up on the show, let us know. Like, we got guys like Doug. If you don't know Doug, you should know Doug. So before we go, Doug, can you tell people how they can find you? I see you got your tag down there, but other than spaces, let people know, how they can rock with you.
Yeah, that's my @ on Twitter and on Instagram. I'm a musician. I put out tons of different kinds of music. I'm putting out a metal album in the spring that's going to be really dope. I have already a mixtape online at this name, at Doug Lust. You can find it on Spotify. Just good, chill, hip hop kind of vibes. And I just make a ton of music all the time. Play out in New York City all the time. So anytime you're at a Knicks game, you can probably catch me playing somewhere in the city afterwards. So always hit me on the DMs on Twitter or at me when you're out and about in the city and you want to see some good music. Yeah, man. The Knicks, like the great Jay from Florida always says, bro, they're not making decisions about basketball. And that's got to change. And I'm a voice of that change on Twitter. And I appreciate you guys having me on here, man. Morning Brew is a great show.
Of course.
Super interesting conversation, fun chat vibes, great production, great graphics. You guys do an amazing job. So it's my pleasure to come on, and I'll be back anytime you guys want me on here. I'm down.
Appreciate that. Of course, Doug, open door policy. Whenever you want to come on, you're more than welcome to come on. If you have anything that you want to promote, if you have any big shows coming up and you want to promote, feel free to come on, so you can promote that. Give us a video. We'll play it, during the show so we can promote it as well. I'm definitely going to hit you up because, I'm in Washington Heights, so I would love to catch one of your shows wherever you're
dope. Yeah, come through. So, come through.
Yeah,
for
definitely
sure.
Let me know. But guys, appreciate everybody for tuning in. I always love hanging out with my brother Phil. Always love hanging out with cool guests like Doug D. Shout out the chat. We got Kent the Haitian, appreciate you. Delano Still Jr., appreciate you. Mr. Chris Joseph is in the building, appreciate you. Bob D is in the building, appreciate you. Harlem Girl as well, appreciate you. And also, guys, like I said, the open panel is on Friday. So if you guys want to get some stuff off your chest after the Heat's game, whether we win or lose, make sure you come to the Friday show when we have the open panel. You're more than welcome to come on. And like Phil said, support everybody that's in this space, whether it's on YouTube, whether it's on Twitter. Shout out to all the great content creators. Shout out to all the great guys on Twitter or women on Twitter that host the different spaces. It's just great being a Knicks fan, right? Yes, Phil said, it's like being in an abusive relationship, right? Your friends keep telling you, just leave them, just leave them, just leave them. But you can't because you think something's going to change. And that's how it is being a Knicks fan. But like always, peace, salutations. And we're going to have Doug take us out with this one. Fire Tom Thibodeau. A peace out.
Of size, overruns and languishes, your planet's built on lies. The only path to mix existence is to call for your demise.